Hello, everyone. Welcome to Adobe Live. I'm Andrew Hockrottle, and next to me is the one and only Aaron Draplin. Hi, Aaron.
Hello, hello,
So
welcome.
today we are going to be hanging out with Aaron Draplin. We're going to be doing some lightning round questions. We're going to be seeing some of the work and process, and we also are going to be just having a great time here on Adobe Live. So if you're joining us for the first time, we are live almost every single day from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific with great guests like this showing you creative process and helping you level up your creative careers. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. This is a live stream. We'll have some polls on YouTube, or you can join us in the Behance chat for our time today. So Draplin, let's go ahead. Give us the overview. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar, but if they're not, who are you? Who's this man on my screen?
Hi there. Thank you, Andrew. My name is Aaron Draplin. I am 50 years old now. I'm a graphic designer working out of his backyard in Portland, Oregon. And I make logos for little things, sometimes big things, rock posters for little bands and sometimes big bands. But um, we do field notes. Just a little disclaimer, a little asterisk over here. I'm a little under the weather. Okay, I've got a little frog in the throat, so I'm not at 100%. So I apologize if I'm a little slow off the cuff. Field notes, slots of Skillshare videos, and a mountain of DDC merch, and then the privilege of going on the road and talking about it and sharing it with people and doing workshops and all this kind of cool stuff. But for the most part, I'd say anymore, 26 out of the 30 days of a month, I'm in my backyard working with my better
Yeah.
half Lee, and we're shipping merch, all day long and making merch and making things. But more and more of a focus of just how to enjoy your life creatively, make a buck here and there. But in the empty spaces, what do you do for fun? And sometimes I just make logos for fun. So yeah.
Yep. So we are going to talk about that a bit today of this idea of making logos for clients and also just making stuff for fun. Today, we're going to try to have fun. So, chat, if you want to have some fun with us, that'd be great. I would love that. And I'm sure Aaron would love that. And go ahead and drop where you're watching from in the chat. I'm in California. Aaron, you are up north, correct?
Portland, Oregon. Yes, sir.
That's it. And let's do a quick couple call outs. Hello, Umacorn's here. Curtis, Shauna, Robzilla. We love Robzilla here on the show. Thanks for joining us. And let's hop in. We're going to start out, Aaron, with just a lightning round. These are going to be questions that some of our audience has heard before. I'm sure that you've gotten asked before. I wish I had like a prize or like a spotlight that I could throw on you. Like smoke rises up. It's time for the lightning round.
Wow.
So here we go. Let's jump in. What are your inspirations? You got some signature style. What inspirations or maybe designers that are working today or coming up that were inspirational to you?
Well, I'm a kid of the 90s, who the idea is when I first got wet and all this stuff, what was raging in the 90s was all this postmodern gobbledygook, and it was sprinkled on a page and it was real heady and highfalutin and bullshit. And you're a young kid, you're excited to be involved in anything art wise. And I tried my hand at some of that stuff and it felt frivolous. It just felt fake, Another F word is it was just fashion. And it was hard to come to terms with that because you're competing with, I went back to art school and you're competing with people. And they have zero qualms about going after that stuff. But I loved Paul Rand and Saul Bass, and this is in the 90s,
Yes.
in 98. And here comes a big C word. It was corporate, and these decisions that, like, the couple times I got to fly in the 90s to go back to my parents. You see this is back when you would like sometimes walk up on a plane and you would see this giant logo on the side of the tail or something. And then you would see it on the tiny little thing that you would like put in your tea or your coffee or something. And that always fascinated me because it was about legibility. It was about like those beautiful design moves on that big giant canvas. They work at this tiny little thing too. And that was something very interesting because then we had to apply that to all the clients I worked on, coming out of the 90s and the early 2000s, snowboarding, right?
Yeah.
And you learn real quick that these sort of, dare I say, not even, I don't know, identity principles, corporate identity principles. It's not corporate's the wrong word. System principles. How does
Yes.
something go across the snowboard binding? And remember, these are a bunch of just apes. I'm just this gorilla with all these other snowboarders and stuff. And we are coming to terms with like that logo has to work on this small little thing on a union binding, but at some point it'll be on a banner on the side of a half pipe. So, I was applying those things and learning to love simplicity and learning
Yep.
to love good moves and learning how to then take all that stuff and apply it to your buddy's food cart. All the lessons you learn in that. But then what happens when you get like a big job and people are, demanding that of you? Like I was already comfortable in my little shoes, like I already knew how to do that for for my, scumbag snowboard friends, and it worked. So then to apply that to, the last, 25 years of my life has been pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And so, style wise, I love the thick lines. I love super simple colors with good math. I love things that look crusty and from 1942 sometimes.
Yes.
But I mean, the idea is what's appropriate for that, for that Instagram graphic or for that show that we're going on, or when you're actually rolling up your sleeves for a client, what's appropriate for that client. And sometimes it's not a big gorilla like me; it's a tiny little person, quiet, and I have to go design for that, right? So
Yep.
I know that's kind of like people are rolling their eyes and going, "Oh, right," but I'm not really allowed just to dip my clients in exactly what I do. Sure, the certain things that work show up, but if it leads me to a place where the colors are a little foreign to me and the forms are a little foreign, well, that's where it goes because that's what's appropriate for the client.
Yep. You have to
But
find that balance between what's right for the project and your style and what's good for the client and find how does this all come together, right?
well, see, that's called making a living. And
Uh-huh.
there's nothing wrong with any of that. Sometimes you have to have a job that you don't like, and you're under the thumb of a shitty boss. I did that also. But really, where the gravy is, or where you get a chance to go wild, is when you're not on the clock. And
Yep.
and and see, I tricked graphic design, knowing that I probably wasn't good looking enough, or cool enough, or whatever it was in 1997. Um, I tricked them, and I made things for my friends and myself, and would show those things, and then people would gain trust through those things. And by the way, I'm 50 years old, and that is still the same game going on right now. So it's not a dirty secret. The problem is, when you go on the road and you talk to a bunch of youngsters, and they're like, I don't have anything in my portfolio because this what stop. Just go make it up.
Just do it.
Show good moves. Show good moves and show good craft and show good thinking and document it and pretend that you were, chained to a desk at some agency. You can do that. You can
Yep.
do that from your backyard.
Yep, just make up your own story until it's real. Like you can lie until it's not a lie anymore. And suddenly you have the project, you have the work that you've done for a client because you did it for yourself.
Well, you see, what's interesting is when you ask like what inspires you, what inspires me is when it's like a bit of a sucker punch and there's something that I see that I can't tell if it was made for money or it was just made for fun. That's a weird bit of magic. And more often than not, it was just made because that's what they do when they're not on the clock, right? It's their best work, it's their best moves, it's their best expression of their talents. Thank you. Lee, why don't you come show yourself? Just
Oh
for come
yes, Lee.
Lee, come
Cameo.
on,
We
Lee.
love a good
No,
cameo
Ann, come
chat.
on.
Chat,
And
everyone say hi to Lee.
turn all the
Hello.
lights off in the room, and she would radiate just beauty and light. Look at, isn't she just? I mean,
Hello. Oh my goodness.
you know,
Yes, sparkles in
sometimes
chat. There are
let me hit
sparkles in
the,
chat just glowing.
sometimes these ladies they hit the jackpot and they hit the Powerball. They get the seventh number. Or
So we'll use that as a transition. The lightning round was very short, one question, because I do want to transition because we talked about that balance of working with clients and working for fun. And let's hop into Illustrator. Let's do some hands-on. Let's take a look at some stuff that you just do for fun. And chat, this is where you're going to come in. There will be some polls over on YouTube. So if you're watching on Behance, you can add those polls on YouTube. You can come vote. But let's hop in and look at some work that you do for fun, Aaron.
all right.
Um, how does fun happen? Do you have to force fun, or does it kind of just come to you in the moment and you get inspired to design for fun? What's your process there?
Well, if I'm out on my I've been doing these walks, right? And I go for 3 miles or something because doc's orders and all sorts of things. You got to get some movement in somewhere, from sedentary life, right?
Yep.
And I saw this little fluttering thing on my one of my walks a couple days ago. It was in and I was soaking wet because you're in and out of rain. No, you're walking around Portland, and I'm just 25, 30 blocks from my where I live, and then I double back at whatever. But I saw this little fluttering little something, and it was white. Now, I don't even know what it is. It's some kind of a midge or mayfly or fly or a moth or something. But here's this little white thing, and it was just how does that thing survive in the world? Like a big raindrop comes down and nails this thing. Isn't it gonna like get pushed to the ground? Okay, so I'm standing there soaking wet, whip out my phone, and I just draw with my fingertip this little guy right here, because what I want to do is I want to capture what I saw in that moment, this two larger wings, two smaller wings, and I'm just walking, and as I'm refining, I stop and I'm getting the movement down. If it just starts, look at that, I had to go adjust the pencil size, and then here I
Yep.
am jumping in, but it just gets to a point where it's like, you know what? I got to get home and bring that thing to life, right?
Yep.
So, the idea of like being inspired by some little bug you saw and then coming home and jumping into Illustrator, this is where I'll make some of the funnest stuff I get to make. There is no job, there's no reason other than it's just, I'm looking at the physical world around me, and
Yep.
freaking out. So here's what I want to show you is
And
this.
sorry, real quick, I want to point something out that it was really interesting that happened. That we're going to talk a little bit about creative process and whatnot. But I love seeing the creative process, the immediate decision of you pulled it out to do your sketch, and then you're like, these lines aren't thick enough. Is that like that is how you create, and that was the first thing that you changed, and then it was right into the next iteration of that. I love seeing that process work.
Well, what you're going to see here is if I'm going to dissect this little guy, right, and take a look at the moves. I'll just draw over it with a quick pencil, kind of a drawing thing here. The idea is there's a move right there. There's a move right there, and you can stop. There's another move that comes into right here, and you can stop because you're going to see there's a center line, right? So what I'm doing here is I started just by simply using the pen tool and drawing, somewhat, this minimal line, just the points that you need. And then you can see here where I started to flip things because all I wanted to do was just get things to the level to where I've got one line done here. I'll do it again. Where if you take a line, right? So any old line, and we'll give this thing a little bit different color here. So we'll go here and we'll make sure that thing is, that's pretty thick, but just so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. If all these lines now align to this right edge like this, and you take this little line down below right here and you just bring that one sort of a 90-degree, as long as it's larger than your design. Now check this quick little flip trick out. If I go Command C, Command F, grab the line down below, go to your properties tool, one click, that is on the other side, perfectly asymmetrical. Now it took a couple extra steps. And by the way, I know there's a bunch of new software that will do this for you, but here's the thing. There's lots of ways to do this stuff. Andrew was talking about that before we went live. That's the beauty of this stuff. There's a lot of ways to carry the water from the well to the farmhouse. I don't even know what I'm talking about. You can go a long way, you can go a short way, you can dig a tunnel. There's lots of ways. But the idea that this is something that works for me,
Yep.
I then just go quicker and quicker and quicker. Now, if I look at that thing and I say, all right, well, maybe, whatever the move was I was trying to make, at least at that point, I've got this thing. Now, another quick way to do it is to put a circle around something, right? So
Yep.
once you have your thing sort of, built out with a couple lines, because that circle acts as a little, a thing you can align off of also. So if we just go and get off that center point and get a circle going, now check it out. Now, understanding all the known knowns, we'll just call them, right? So if we make sure these are kind of wonky right now, right? They're all not off center, and we grab all three of those and say, okay, center those. We know that those are known knowns. We know those are centered now. So to start over again, and to say, okay, let's put this line over here. And then let's go through and we're going to use the circle now. Now watch this one. Command C, Command F. That means there's just another line up above. I'll go put a different color on it. See? Okay. Grab the circle above and see what you're using to align, how they flip back and forth. And now we can say, all right, now that one's on the perfect other side of that thing there. Well, we need to connect those lines. So then we go and say, all right, before you go and start to connect it in that design, go and use one of your symbols. I mean, I know I've told you guys this a million times, but use a symbol with an arrow and then keep track of all your all your zims and your zams. Because now if I take these two and I know that thing is centered, I align it to there, and I bring that guy to this, and I say, okay, Command C, Command F, we'll give it a little bit of color so you can see the flip, and then go flip that thing. That is perfectly across, perfectly across. Now, here's a quick little hack. Here's a quick little hack.
Hit me.
Let's just say you're trying to get two circles to touch edge to edge, right?
Yep.
So here's a pink, magenta, and here's a cyan, and the idea is, if you go and you try to eyeball it, now just depending on the day or whatever little things I have, clicked on, if I'd say, okay, snap to that. Now that's kind of nice right now until you go and zoom in on that thing and you can see some of that riffraff going on there because
Yep.
maybe you didn't have your command U, whatever that snap to edge or whatever that thing is. If you're just eyeballing that thing, that's really dangerous because you're allowing the program then to give you an error or something. So, okay, now that said, I'll have certitude some days, and I think I've got it nailed right there. And I'll go look later on and things aren't lining up. Here's the quick hack. Okay. So if I want this little blue guy to be touching edge to edge of that thing mathematically, watch this little one. You grab this one over here, you bring one down below, you grab the left edge of the bounding box, drag it across. You can go long, you can go short. But what that just did right there is if you take those two now and align to that left edge, that is mathematically touching right there. Like that, you see what I'm saying? It's like now that's just something that happens when I'm trying to align type or I'm trying to get these things all to go. It's a quick hack, but I can trust it, right? Because sometimes, like, if there's a problem and later on when you're digging around your stuff and you see, some of this stuff going on, imagine that happening when you're like handing off something for embroidery. It's happened to me. And then what happened was the way that they overlapped created a little ridge. And
Yep.
that's bad craft. So I was just sloppy. I thought I had it nailed. I wasn't looking at 3 feet. I was looking at 30,000 feet at a wrong filter and, missed it. And then I was stuck with that for a client or for myself, but I learned the lesson. So it's kind of like, you know, use these programs to your benefit. So just once again, just to show you this funny little hack, here's this guy, okay, and then now you're using what the program gives you. And there's that little bound. We're just going to do a tiny one. Grab the other one here to that edge. Those are mathematically touching. Now, here's a fun little one. If you're having a problem and you've got something that you need to do this with, right? See one of these little guys, like I need it to go point to point right there. But see, the problem is I have my little command U snap to edge on at all times. But if you don't, and you're eyeballing that thing like you're doing right now, like people do,
Oh,
because
that's gonna be chaos.
I look over people's shoulders. By the way, the machine, you can open up the program and just go. That's cool, right? But I'm 50 years old. I need a little precision somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
So watch this little hack. If I'm trying to get that thing and I'm on an airplane, I can't even use my mouse and whatever's going on, here's the hack. You grab this one down below, Command C, Command F will make a different color, right? Now watch, you grab the bottom corner, just pull it up like this. Now align those two, and that is mathematically touching corner to corner. Now, where that comes up in beautiful ways is when you're doing a pattern. And I know there's pattern tools and I know there's things until it bites you in the ass. And then you're trying to use your pattern tool and you're under the gun. These are just, I mean, dare I say, time-tested, crusty little things, but they're ways for me to ensure that my stuff is going to, work later on, right? So those are just quick little alignment hacks, but yeah.
That's fantastic. And I think that this is a quote from you, that pixels are free. And I love that, like, each time you iterate on, and you can see on the document that it is just a whole bunch of things, and using the symbols as the arrows to help map your process. Not only is this going to allow you to keep trying stuff, but like it helps us learn, and it hopefully helps you learn, that you look back and you're like, cool, here are the steps that I took to get here. I have a new project where I'm trying to make a bird. Let's do these same steps and see if we come to a similar style in the landing.
So when I come back to 30,000 feet here, what I need to see is I don't want to spend too much time being pretty off the page. I want to
Yes.
spend time just going fast and just trying to harness what I have inside me and trying to get that sketch to screen as elegant and as precise as possible. So when I landed up here, and I'm calling it butterfly because I don't even know what the thing was. It was some kind of a moth or something, or I don't think it was a butterfly. But you can see just my trajectory. I'm trying to put a holding shape around it, but those little arrows, they guide me because before I go and jam this thing down to a final shape, I keep track of all my little parts and pieces, because if I go and I make that thing now and I say, all right, cool, we've got that little piece, and let's see how that thing feels, and let's go around the corners, and it's just feeling a little off. If it doesn't feel right, then I'll put one down below and I'll take another one and just try it. And you can see what I'm doing here. And then say, all right, let's just go and center those two and see what that little form makes or something. I mean, the idea is, if you understand the most simple properties of what we're doing here, everything can be bespoke. That's a new word I've been
Yep.
using.
Bespoke.
Everything can be something that came from you. I don't want to be the guy that, rein me in there, Hawk Rattle, rattle, don't, because I don't want to be the guy to go start crying on here about, people who send me things once a day and say, this guy's ripping you off. It's like, man, stop, um, maybe, but what that guy needs to understand is he's already got the skill set. It's just taking an easier route. And it's
Yep.
embarrassing. If
And
you,
what's
if you understand these tiny little principles of just how to iterate and how to play and push and keep track of it, it can be completely custom to your project. Oh,
Yep,
and
and you've said it a bunch of times that like there's so much math involved, and especially working in this style and this aesthetic, it is so mathematical, it is so geometrical. And even when we look at math's been the same for hundreds and thousands of years,
yeah.
that it's of course something is going to look similar, it's going to feel in the same world because it's math, and you understand that these are core principles to design that make things look the way that they do. And I love seeing this kind of outlined. This is math.
Oh, I mean, what we're doing right here, at least, is you're using. So I'll just walk it back. I mean, the idea is, if I start with this crappy little sketch from my fingertip and I said, okay, here is the known. I need to get that little angle of the wing there or something. But before I do that, give yourself a starting point. Right? There's this circle now. Right? So here's a circle. So if you just bring that thing up above and just quickly stretch, not the prettiest thing in the world, but you quickly stretch that thing above. Now you have a little field to work within, because if we go really quick and we say, all right, there's that angle, Command C, Command F, grab up above, flip it. Okay, we've got those angles. We're working with those things. Now we want this bottom angle right here. There it is. And we can go adjust these things later on, and you'll see, but what I'm doing is I'm keeping track of this beautiful, simple math. And I mean, here's the thing. Did someone across the other side of the world make this same little bug that I made? Probably. Okay. But the trick is this: if I saw that, I can go back 4 steps and take it a whole different direction on an ethical level and make it completely mine, or the client's, or yours, or whatever, ours, and that's the beauty of this stuff. It's not, being so quick to be easily led by what the coolest thing of the day is. I just saw someone, I'm going to crop this year, and I get to
See you
be there.
there.
Oh, are you going to crop?
Yes, sir. Of
Oh,
course.
cool, man. Well, then that's going to be the thing to go to, man. I mean, I know Rob's going to be there. I just made a post. And the people I know, I'm like, I can't wait to see, Brett Stenson lives 14 blocks from me or something. But, I want to see him in that setting, because, I'm just so proud of what he's done. But to go to that thing and see people share and new ideas. There was a gal named Maggie Anterios, I want to say, in the roster, and her work, it just floored me. It just floored me. And if you got to bring her stuff up, and you got to look at these beautiful patterns. And I know there's been a lot of people out there doing it, but I think she might have been one of the best. And I mean, she's taking something that's been happening a bunch, and she put a little twist on it and made it hers, much like a Dana Machi, or much like a Hish so many years ago, whatever, and made this little twist and made it all theirs, and it trickles all the way through her entire experience, and that's the stuff that really we should be studying, not how to go become the next Maggie Interios. She already hit it.
Yes.
Learn from the moves,
Yep.
and then
And we actually can flip over to my screen real quick and show her work. I have her Behance page up because I got curious. This work is insane. This is gorgeous, gorgeous work. Check out some of this stuff on the Behance. Look at these patterns. Look at this illustration. This is wild.
you
Oh
know,
my
I,
goodness.
I don't know this person, and I look forward to getting a high five or a handshake or something. But these are the things I see out there when you cut through the bullshit. There's a lot of low hanging fruit. By
Yep.
the way, there was low hanging fruit in 1995. Who knows what that was when I was a kid? There were things that stuck to your ribs. And I tried to, emulate those things, learn from them, and then, make my own little way.
Yep. And I love what's even, and this is so bespoke to use your word, that there is a butterfly here that it is the same thing told by different people in different stories, right? That this is the same, that it's the butterfly that you saw on your walk, but she's telling it differently than you would tell it, that I would tell it, that another designer would tell it, and being able to take those in and be inspired by so many different things and different ways of interpreting the world around us, I think is what gets so interesting. And that's why I love your style, because it is that interpretation that is unique with perspective of the world around you.
Well,
And it being in the Pacific Northwest, you have a really cool world around you.
well, let's say someone came to me and said, "Well, Draplin, that's what you do all the time." And I'd say, "Well, right. That's what got you to my little Instagram page. You saw these things that I am pretty, I try to be pretty clear and say I found an old logo. I couldn't find it on the web, so I just rebuilt it so it's out there in the space. What can we learn from having, you know, 18 points and only 3 of them are rounded? It's like the chef's kiss. It doesn't, you don't have to round them all or have them all sharp or whatever. There's ways to make things sing, but you got to go back and look at these people that were making things with pen and ink because they were coming up with better ideas. So for me, you know, when I get back to the house, a couple days later, a couple hours later after my walk, and Lee and I are, I'm just drawing these things. And the idea is I know what I'm gonna go do. I'll go do the thick line version, but the challenge is how do I add some tiny little lines in there, get a bunch of color and take whatever I was blown away with by Alana Louise or Brett Stenson or the Maggie or seeing Rob's latest stuff, like just looking at the crop lineup and going, whoa, whoa, whoa. There's little things that I can do to get myself better, but I don't have to
Yes.
grab it from that person. I can just learn from the move and then apply it my own little way. And that's just how this stuff kind of works. And, so to come on here and to be, um, to have the privilege to talk to people, I would just hope that what you would glean from me sharing this is it's okay to make things just for the hell of it. Right.
Yep. And that's what hopefully we do here on Adobe Live, is we bring creatives like Aaron here to help share their perspectives. And if you are tuning into Adobe Live, great. If you can get to a conference, go to a conference. Creative South is coming up. CropCon is coming up. Brand New has some events coming up. Do some research, find a design conference, pick one this year and try to get out to one, because it is so inspiring. And even for someone like Aaron, right, that is like top of the industry, like seasoned professional, is still getting inspired by going to conferences. Go network, go make friends, go get inspired, find a conference, and also watch Adobe Live. All right, so let's hop back into process. Where are we here with the process of
Well,
creating
should
this
we
butterfly?
should we try to do put me to the test
Are we ready
here?
for that? Oh
I mean,
yeah, I'm ready
bring,
for that. Chat.
bring the heat.
Chat, are you ready to bring the heat? What we're going to do now is we are going to have you put in some suggestions into the chat of something for us to create. So we are going to put this creative process to the test and give us an object, give us something in the chat for us to create. And Aaron, before we even get what the thing is, what are the steps in your brain that you know you're going to take once you get the prompt? Do you have that already set out?
Well, it's kind of like this. It's like when you wake up in the morning and there's a bunch of emails, and sometimes someone's offering you a logo gig. It's kind of like you were flipping through a phone book. Now, you guys remember phone books? There's paper and there's ink and edges and all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, there's a random quality. Wow, someone wants a little butterfly built for their clothing company or something. So, the first things first is to kind of say, all right, am I the right fit stylistically for that thing? Can I get in and can I get out quick? Those are the things that come through my mind right away. And then I just go take a look at their space to make sure that they probably need a little bit of a little kick in the pants. But who are they competing with? What does that space look like? Who's someone that's doing it really well? From the tiniest little moment on their Instagram, all the way up to the biggest thing on the side of their building or their big plane that you used to be able to walk up on and see it on the tail graphic or something. You know, how are they populating their world? Because it just gives me an idea of what we're allowed to kind of do. Because what you don't want to do, if I'm using this kind of like you can see on my screen here, this kind of lavender or something, if you see that across their industry, like a tech industry, lots of blues, it's a chance to do something different, right? So I'll just do that before my hands even touch, the screen or the keyboard or reply or anything, and just kind of say, well, maybe I am the right fit. This thing's now, if I'm not, and they're peddling action sport drinks or something a little bit gnarly that I wouldn't really all that down with, there's a way to be a professional. You don't make fun of them. You don't take a screen grab and put it on your Instagram or something. No, you reply like a human being and you say, hey, I'm just not the right fit, but thank you so much. Here's a list. I have a cut and paste list of people that could go and do this job who might not have a little bit of a thing. Or what if I'm just too busy, right?
Yep.
So I have that list at all times to go and fire off. Now, all we're doing here is we're just setting the tone, right? Now, jumping into, let's say we get on the phone, everything's good, and the price is right and all that kind of stuff. And I get them a contract. They sign the contract, half down. It's in the bank. I'm off and running. I'm sketching first. And I'm just kind of going through, like, of course, I'm always messing with Lee while she's sitting there, across the table at some little, we were eating or something. But, I'm in my field notes, just enjoying the act of making the form, right? And it not being anything more than like, it's almost like I'm just trying to get it out of my system of the shit that I would always do, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Me, So, like this butterfly thing that we're talking about here, that's just me just really trying to employ what I love to do and quick. This was a half hour. I got home. I could not get to the machine quick enough because I wanted to get it out of me, right?
Yep.
But if what's appropriate for the client is to go in there and use thin lines or hire a Maggie Interiors to get some beautiful pattern done, then that's what's appropriate, right? We have to figure that part out.
So
But yeah.
For the chat, the poll is now up over on YouTube. So if you want to vote, go over to YouTube, and the 4 options that we have suggested from the chat, we have a taco, we have an accordion, a dinosaur, or a penguin. So those are the 4 that we are voting on there. Chat, go over to YouTube. We'll give it a few minutes here. Sorry, Aaron, you can continue going. I just wanted to call that out. It takes a little while for them to vote. So
Take a look at this. Take a look at this. I did
yes.
a penguin a while ago. You can see there's a little penguin.
Look at that little man.
And then, of course, brought it into the vector and not worrying too quick about, look at the little plumes of Antarctica in the back, little mountains or something. Like there was no job here. So we could do a dinosaur. We could do whatever. Why don't we try a dinosaur? That sounds kind of fun.
Yep.
Okay. So here's the thing where I was explaining before in my 19-minute dissertation about how to make a logo. Once I get going and I have that first milestone of like 10 days from now or a week from now, or depending on what the flavor is, I don't want it to be 4 weeks from now. That's just too much time.
Yep.
Get me on paper, get me going, get me a frame of reference of where we're at, and I'll have something a week from there or 10 days from there or something ready to go. And it'll be a pretty big pile of stuff. And kind of, I liken it to like a volume knob. Volume 1 is very comfortable. But you get to volume 7, it's getting a little out there because I want them to have complete ownership of what they see in my exploration, right? If they like number 6 and it's getting out there a little bit, we tweak on that a little bit and we Frankenstein. Remember, this isn't for me when I'm on the clock for someone. It's for them, right? That's just all there is to it. You got to put your ego aside a little bit. If I want to make little butterflies, I'll do that all day, right?
Yep.
But for them, it's what's appropriate for them, what's going to give them ownership and make them love it, and you get a big paycheck, hopefully, right? That's the job, okay? So we show the first round, they react, and it's just a filtering process from there, right? About 3 to 4 weeks later, 2 to 3 weeks later, we're kind of, pooping out a little thing that is something that they help me design as much as I design. And it's ultimately all theirs, right? So that's really the process. But the idea is that first volley, you got to come and kind of, blindside them a little bit. You have to set that tone and say, I'm not Saul Bass. I don't just get to show you one thing after 6 months of you guys might not even be in business in 6 months. So you go spend a lot of time and come back with the mark and say, this is what you need. That's different now, right?
Take them on a journey.
So the idea that it's just a different thing. So okay, now someone's got to what kind of dinosaur?
Yes. So the chat has voted. Uh, their top one was accordion. I feel like that would be difficult. Taco is in there as well, and dinosaur. I think I've seen you do taco before, and so I think that there is a taco that is a Drablin that is
Yeah,
out there. Look it up on Instagram. I'll try to find it as you work. So let's do dinosaur because you've already done penguin as well. Accordion, I feel like could be fun, but wouldn't be the most fun. I feel like dinosaur is going to be really fun, chat.
well, and accordion. Like I was watching this thing last night. I'm a little under the weather, right? So I watched a bunch of Barry, and there's a funny little moment where there's a guy that plays an accordion. He gets shot later on. Yeah, I mean, I can try this thing. The thing is, there's just so much accordion to an accordion. You know what I mean? It's like, you're gonna spend all this time to make all the little zims and zams and little pieces and parts and stuff, and it might just, I mean, we can try it.
We're not here for Zims and Zams. We're here
Okay.
for cuteness. We
Okay.
want
What kind,
some,
well,
yeah.
what kind of dinosaur would you guys want to do?
Yeah, what kind of dinosaur, chat? Toss some in there. What are the kind of dinosaurs? We got T-Rexes, we got some Stegosaurus. I'm trying to think of like ones that have signature looks. Chat, what kind of dinosaurs would we like to see? Aaron, do you have a favorite kind of dinosaur?
It's been so long. I would say, I'm probably a Stegosaurus. Those things were so cool. The front of a Triceratops is. Why don't we just do that? The front of a Triceratops. So
Oh,
watch.
I think that'd be dope. Also,
Uh,
someone in chat is saying a combination of an accordion and a dinosaur. That sounds like the most
listen,
hilarious thing I've
listen,
ever
you
seen.
people. Listen,
Yeah,
you trying
listen,
to
you.
listen. You trying to mess with me at this point because you're going down a dark road to mess with. Okay,
This
so let's
this is what happens about I mean it's 12 35 minutes into the stream, the chat starts to turn on us and it
right.
starts they start throwing out these crazy contraptions. So yes, let's do that. Let's do the head of the Triceratops, which has been suggested. Mary, thank you so much for that suggestion. I think we are going to take it. Let's go for it.
So all I'm doing here is I'm just looking at reference. It's the first thing I just typed in. There's a million ways to go look at these things. There's cute ones. I'm not even going to put in an icon because if you do that, it's going to lead you some which way, right? So what I'm going
Yep.
to do here is I'm just going to try to grab, to get all the geometry of the side of that beautiful, incredible, kind of improbable head, right? And get that thing a side view, and then we're going to go work with that. So, okay, if I found this, I'm just doing a quick little screen grab here. I'm going to go start a new document, and you can see what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go DDC 24 Adobe Live _ Tricera.
And are you already seeing that in simple shapes? Like when you look at it, are you seeing the shapes sitting
It's
on top of it already?
sort of. It's going to come in a couple seconds here. I mean, the idea is now that we just have, you know, this sort of zone to start in. What I'll do is before I go, I'm going to go start up here. And I'm now, as I look at that thing, what I'm looking for, and it's going to be on paper, right? I want to do it on paper, is I'm looking for nice moves, right? And things that then we can exploit for later on to get that little feeling. Let me see if I can do
Yep,
this.
I love the conversation of someone being like, what's your inspiration?" You're like, "I'm looking for the nice moves." Like that is such a designer thing to say that it's about the like feel and the motion, and you're trying to capture that visually. And one of my professors in design school told me that we're just visual translators, and I love that. Of there's a feeling or there is an energy that we're trying to capture, and being able to understand how we translate that into a visual is what makes us so unique. And so I love that you're looking for, like you said, these like good moves. That
So
it's the swoops, it's the turns, it's the shapes.
if I did this, I just did this quick little sketch here. Now, I'm seeing this, my eye, right? I'm seeing that shape.
Yep.
So, we don't need the neck to tell that story. We just need that side profile, that crazy, I don't even know what is it, some kind of a dorsal or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, this big, so now having this right now I know we're in real time here, but I'm just going to go quickly. I'm going to take
Yep.
a photo with my phone, right? So here's my little, this is how I do it in real life. If I drew it on my little thing, I can just cut and paste it out of my little notes or something. But now I have a photo. I'm going to just, what do you call it? So sick, you guys. I'm sorry if I'm not 100%.
Oh, you're good.
I'm just gonna from forgetting terms. What is my name? It's Aaron Draplin. All right, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm gonna airdrop it onto my machine. My apologies. But I was laying there last night wheezing and stuff. That's just, writing wills and
It's no
things.
fun. That's yeah, you got
Uh,
one will on either side, and you're kind of just
uh,
signing as they come
just,
through.
just working out percentages,
Yep,
make sure
yep. Somebody slides a poster in there to get signed to. You're like, how'd you get
my
my
buddy,
house?
just make sure my buddy Dale does not get my records. That's all I'm really concerned about anymore. Okay,
All
so
right.
now I'm just going to grab a screen grab. I'm not going to worry about even saving this file. I'm just going to get it into the machine, right? Because what we're trying to do here is we're just trying to get the moves down, these really simple moves. And by the way, all those are circles in the end. The way I built the butterfly is one little thing, but if the idea here is okay, so here is, we've got an arrow now to kind of chart where we're going. All right, let's just go and let's take a look at like maybe this one. If you go back to your reference here and you take a look at the way those things sort of work, you can see here that there's like just these like little there's these opportunities to go straight and then go around and then go straight. So, I mean, you can attack it a couple ways. I think this one is just kind of a pen point by pen point kind of a deal, right?
Yep.
But later on, you might want the perfection of of a circle, of a corner of a circle, or a 90-degree piece of a circle. So, all right, I'm just going to try to get just the move down, right? So I'm going to start
Yep.
here. So, I think
And
even right there.
as a good time check, we got about 15 minutes. So
All right,
perfect
well,
time to see what we can
pressure's
knock
on.
out in 15
Pressure's
minutes.
on. Okay. So, if I'm just trying to use, like the pen tool itself, and I'm going down here, and I'm just gonna try to get that thing just formed in there. We can go back later on, but what you're gonna notice here is I'm seeing opportunities. So, like right here, I'm gonna try to make that a hard. I'm gonna bring this one down like this. I'm gonna because you have to tune that later on. But check this out. I'm gonna go like this way a little bit and fudge it up here, and I'll show you why in a second. So now when I go this way, I'm just going because we're gonna use the machine to round off those nice little points and parts and stuff, right?
Yep. And this is going to be so. I was actually going to ask you to show this because I've seen you do it before. A nice little hack of having some curves and then some of these corners. And as you see, we're like kind of tracing over the sketch, but then some like they're weird corners. And I'm really excited for the hack to kind of pull this together to make it easier to use the pen tool if you are intimidated.
Right. So, okay. So now that I've got this thing, and I'll just go zap it up just a little bit. I got to get that little mandible or whatever down there. But see, you're seeing these opportunities where it's like that is a circle right there. So before we do that, it's kind of like, I mean, how do you use that thing to your benefit? So, the tool to your benefit. All right. So there's this. I'm going to come down. I'm just going to try to eyeball that thing. That's kind of going against what I'm always kind of training out there, but you're just using these angles. Okay. Now that we have those parts and pieces, what I'm gonna do is before I go and try to make these little horns or whatever, is I'm just gonna go. Remember, this is just the first stab. And you can see here, I'm gonna try to go get that horn going and just get it one time and get it nailed. Right. So there it is. I'm gonna go a little bit bigger. There it is, just right there. And that might just be enough to be a horn. Okay, make another arrow, grab all your parts and pieces, and keep on working on it, right? Because now what we're going to go do is we're going to go take a look at that mandible and we're going to say, okay, if we start the one down here along the bottom, and so we can, and I hope you guys can see this okay. In this, I mean, is white maybe easier to see? Okay, now check this out. I'm going to use the machine to push me through. So I'm going to grab this thing. I'm going to round that nice thing. There you go. That part's pretty much done down there, right? Now, right here, if we're going to go grab this thing, I'm going to get it to the white so you can see where well, let me do it back to the part. A pig. Okay, magenta. Now check it out. I'm going to grab those two and make that. There's a nice circle that happens off of that thing right there. Once again, right here, we've got, let's see, let me see. Oh, what are we doing here? I'm going to make that little rounded zone. There it is right there. Same thing right here. And then this guy really bring it in. But you see what I was doing there? I was anticipating that later on. If I wanted really big or I wanted just a little, I've got that little handle now to go give me nice geometry, right?
Yep. Yep.
So see here, now remember I winged this one. I was just winging that one. That one later on might need to go and do something a little bit different. But if we pull these parts off here now, and we can start to see what's forming here, we can see.
We're getting somewhere. It's going to a place.
Oh, let's go here. Okay, so check this out. Now, if we start here and we want to equalize that line to be the thick line down below, And then we got, now remember that when I anticipated right there, we just want that thing to be computerized. See, that right there is like the perfect bit of math to be a perfect corner of a circle because you made a corner, right?
Yep.
And this guy now can be adjusted to this. Okay, we want this little horn. Let's just go, and we've got, remember, we've got this thing covered, on the run up to this. So if we go, that one is going to be down below it. So let's go up above it and then smash it down. There it is right there. Now we've got a horn. Okay, now check this little guy. Just so we know that this thing is, there's this line. We just want this line to shear. Here's the little pro tip. You just grab this line right here, Command C, Command F. You're gleaning off that line, okay? Now we'll color that thing some orange, and we want to just go and sever this guy right here. But before you do that, just bring it up above, and now we're gonna use this line. Let me get it down to something small. And then we go through and we say, all right, now there's that piece. We can get rid of this piece right here. And we're starting to have this thing happen here. Now, using this thing to our benefit. If we want to tell that story where we say, all right, we need to have a couple horns, just do not draw it again. Just use the other one and just to give it a little bit of, perspective back there. So now to take this thing, I know I'm trying to go quick here, but if we go through and say, all right, let's just get it to the point where now we've got another arrow. We're keeping track of what we're doing here at all times. And I'm going to go equalize this thing some which way. Let's go grab our little guy here. And we get into this thing and say, okay, now let's just take a look at some of the moves, right? Like if this thing is going to be a dark green of some sort, and here it is, and we're trying to have them all be the same width, okay? And then have the same interior color. Let's go with this out here. And then let's bring this thing up. And let's just for now, just to go in there and just give it a little bit of that kind of olive green kind of a thing. Come on there, little buddy. All right. And we're starting to see like there's going to be, that line doesn't connect there, but just by having those things starting to happen here, so you just have to go fudge this one real quick, just grab this one and just bring this one like this and get it connected and it goes behind. Okay.
Yep.
Now there's a little thing there. Now this one right here, we just say, lots of ways to do it. I'm just going to go real kind of gross. I'm just going to go throw a shape back behind it real quick. Let me see here. Just to get that little form because I'm looking for the move. Let's see here. Okay. So
I love that you're showing all these little tips and tricks because it's so important to understand how to use the tools. And then we can do those hard edges that round. We can use little bits and pieces of circles because we understand the Pathfinder tool. So understanding the tools is really important. And this is a hard ad plug here. If you want to learn more about Illustrator, you can tune in every Tuesday at 9:30 for our Illustrator Creative Challenge. We teach you new tools, how to do this kind of stuff, and then watch later to see process of people using those tools. But you can understand those tools every Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. for the Illustrator Challenge. Okay, back to you, Draplin.
But yeah, you guys, I mean, here's just something to think about. I know they're going to sell you everything. But man, when I was a kid, you had to go to like a bookstore and get a little creepy how-to thing.
Yep.
I mean, I know there's going to be some painful shit where they're go download this, go download that. But what world we're in where people are sharing these things and you're learning these things. I have to go do this stuff just to keep up with what the latest stuff is, if anything, to keep my own shit in order. I mean, and I'm sorry about the language. I know you guys are a bunch of little lambs out there and don't talk like that. I apologize. But don't forget that this stuff is out there to just, push you along. Yes, to subscribe, and make these guys, I'll tell you a fun little story. I was backstage this year at Adobe. I was standing there next to this guy who was worth $335 million. The CEO. And I wanted to say to him, why don't you just quit? Just quit. Me and you'll quit. We'll run off into the sunset right now. Get married, anything, something, right now. Like, let's just quit. What are you doing? And I mean, a nice guy, you got to look him up. But that's what I was thinking in the moment. I was just kind of like, man, we could quit right now and be done with this shit. And I don't have to, go dink around, sweating out whatever I sweat out. Okay. So I'm sorry if that's, a little too behind the scenes for Adobe Max or whatever. But, that's what was going through my little lizard brain when I was back there. Okay. Now check it out. If I've got this thing and I'm starting to get this thing down to something, what I want to go do right away is get it into a form to let that thing guide it. Now, remember that little Ferrari form or little whatever, but this is a rounded asymmetrical, this little form, because I want this thing to now be a housing shape that holds that thing, that
Yep.
holds that thing. Because you see opportunities now where this thing could get a little bit bigger to fill that little space. Now you have to go adjust and stuff. But if there's some little fun way to fill that space, and then those little sharp edges are a little odd. Let's get rid of those things. I know I'm under the gun here, but what's important is, how do you enjoy this stuff? How do we enjoy our lives? How do we enjoy making? And what these little simple exercises, when I come into the shop, when people are like, well, what happens when you're stressed? Well, I'll sit and draw for a while. I'll sit and make things, and then I'll tear into my stuff where I have to really be on point and whatever you want to call it. And then I'll have a little bit better attitude about it, we'll just say, right?
Yep.
Because
And I
otherwise,
love that we have about 5 minutes left, but
so,
I love that we have kind of landed on we did the fun part, right? That this is the fun part, and now we're getting into like tweaking anchor points and picking colors, and that
yeah.
we got to have the fun and get to the point where it's like, look it, we made something and it was fun. And then we just buttoned up.
So, I mean, all this stuff is like when you demist. I mean, the biggest thing that I can bring to graphic design is you know, there were cool people and there were not cool people, whatever, when I was a kid. And it was just kind of like, there were people that were kind of like, would kind of check you out and be like, well, like, I just want to get past all that and just
Yep.
enjoy making for the sake of making together and enjoying that stuff. I mean, whatever that even means, it's like, if I can just bring something to the table that says, you know, I don't care how cool you are. Do you enjoy this stuff? We're so lucky to do it. Just keep doing it. Don't lose that, because I mean, think of the best job you had. It's just not going to be as cool as making a stupid Tyrannosaurus Rex thing, just for, or a Triceratops just for fun. Now, if I go and I take a look at that thing, all right, okay, let's just go get a really simple tea. Let me see what I was working on last night. What do I have floating around in here?
And someone in our chat is saying he's sick and he's doing this. So we still got it. Still got it. Even with
I'm
the
not
sickness, still got
100%,
it.
you guys. I'm not 100%. Things are rough around here, but just get a little fun, little, real Bob Rossi here. Get a little tea in there. And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the idea is this: I don't want to overthink it too much. I want to enjoy it along the way, and I think those are all good, healthy things. And how do you then parlay that into the hard part when your client has a hard go and they're messing with you, and they're saying, we love it, it's perfect, here's the list of changes, Andrew, all this kind of shit we deal with.
Yep.
Well, there's a certain elegance to how to handle that. And sometimes I have to trick myself. I have to trick myself by warming up
Yep.
and making something fun, and then going and attacking accordingly. And I'm able to do it. I'm able to go do that. But that's something that had to be learned and then put to the test, just for my own self in the morning when I'm starting out, or whatever it is, or the weekend when I don't want to have to work on a Sunday night. But sometimes, that's how you make the coin. So
Yep.
this is what it comes down to. But this thing needs a lot of work, but the idea is to refine it down to make this little thing. And remember, we're just using these really simple tools, 3 or 4 tools.
Yep. And I love if you watched the whole thing, great. Go back and like watch it 2 times speed. Nothing we did was that crazy, right? It was some pen tool, it was a lot of simple shapes. Nothing was like super intricate and intense. It was really loose, it was really fun. And it's just understanding how those tools work, how to use the pen tool, how to use the Pathfinder tool. And now we're scaling down. Why the scale down? Where
So
do we go
what
here?
what I always want to do here is I want to just get it into um, some kind of format just to test how type works alongside it,
Yep.
right? So, if it's just Triceratops and that's just this little thing, what comes out of that thing? Because now if we go and we grab a little bit of color from that thing and just get that little, you know, let that thing bounce off of that, you're going to be forced to do this later on. It's a mouthful, Triceratops, right? It's a lot to think about. So where my mind goes is like, well, maybe. And remember, I probably should have my little arrows, but where my mind goes is there might be an opportunity to put a little something along the top there,
Yeah.
that shape, right? And that's kind of, remember, this is all just play at this point. So let's go and let's grab the darkest color that we have here. Okay, let's put a little shape in there.
And I love this point of kind of landing on I did a thing and then testing, is the thing a thing? Continuing to add stuff to it to be like, could it be more? Could it lock in somewhere? Could we make this into something else by just playing, continuing to have fun, right? Because we got into the technical of picking colors and doing, adjustments, and then we went back into, okay, cool, let's add something and see if we can have more fun with it.
That sounds. I mean, no. I mean this isn't. I don't know what the word is. When you are playing this way, it alleviates the pressure of having to be so perfect and so whatever and so whatever. I don't even know what the word is. It's like this now allows me just to go and play and see if I'm doing something right, or something could be a little bit better. Like maybe this thing could go up above some cool way and break that thing just a little bit, and it's just going to be for that one little moment. And that thing just kind of does. I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
Yep.
at this point, you've got the parts to play with and you've got these things to try, these cool things. And, it,
I think we did it, and we are just about out of time.
right.
So I love where we landed. That was such a fun process. Thank you so much for joining us. Aaron, any quick advice, 15 seconds for people who are wanting to go out, have fun, get creative?
Well, we're all going to have to work, work a job, right? Do whatever it takes to make a living, right? 9 to 5, right? If you're not in the big design job yet, well, you'll get there, right? But apply that craft to the time when you're laying around watching Netflix, right? Apply that craft and that love for making these little funny things in the sort of like spaces in between, because you're going to have to go to your job and be on point. But the greatest designers I've met, they're not pointing at things in reels. Go look at their portfolios and you'll see where that stuff is. It's just kind of weird. The best designers, they take the time to go and worry about the tusk of the damn Triceratops. They're taking the
Yep.
time to craft these things, and then they've got it backed up, and then they're going to openly share it out in the world. Then there's no subscription or Amway technique to get behind. They're just showing you what they made because they have their thing down.
Yep. And sorry, we have to wrap up because we're going to get cut off. Speaking of seeing the process, stick around. Right after this, Izzy is going on with Creative Design. We're creating a zine together. So stick around, have some fun, watch some more process. And thanks for joining us, everybody.
Just keep
Bye.
it fun, you guys. Keep it fun
Keep
and
it
back
fun.
up. Thank you.